Oh, wait, I'm the host.
Oh.
Are we live?
Yes.
Hi, welcome to the Christian Indie Writers Podcast, where we encourage, inform, and support Christian indie writers on their journey to publication. I'm Christina Catane, and I write in multiple genres, including Christian dystopian fiction.
Go ahead.
I'm Jennifer Carl Tong, and I write historical Christian romance.
I'm Jamie Hirschberger, also known as Sir Interrupts a Lot. And my preferred genre is there is none. I write short fiction under the pen name J.R. Nichols.
I'm Rhonda Hagerman, and I write fiction and nonfiction.
In your defense, Jamie, I'm pretty sure I was the one that was interrupting you.
We didn't know what was going on. Whatever. Wow. This is our last episode for the year, isn't it? And we're starting it off with a bang.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Maria, how are you today?
Hi, Maria and Robin and Sage.
Okay, I think I'm ready now. I was trying to get so I could see the outline and the video window at the same time.
Right.
And then I forgot I was the host. So here we are. So this is the segment where we call it What's Up? So let's start with Rhonda, because she never gets to go first. And we'll find out what's up with Rhonda.
I was just going to copy somebody else's. Okay, so
Ditto. Just say ditto.
Yeah. There's not really a whole lot going on. I am really working hard on my book, and that's really what my focus has been. I found a new genealogy show from New Zealand last night that I'm all excited about. So
Ooh.
that was pretty fun. But yeah, getting ready for Christmas and a couple weeks off.
Do you have all your shopping done?
I know what I'd like to get most people.
Oh.
No, I don't.
Do you need to know what I want?
Oh, yes, please send me your list.
Okay.
I'll look at it.
I saw a meme that said, for those of you still looking for a gift for me, I wear a size 7-day cruise.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
by the way, my children just came in. They were outside playing. So if you all hear them yelling and stuff, I warned them that I had a podcast at 10, but who knows if they remember, because the oldest is not here to kind of smack them around. Should I go next?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I was going to talk about how I took my oldest to this thing and I kind of dropped her off for 3 days and how that's kind of hard. But then I was telling these ladies how I kind of got sucked into the Bible. And anyway, it's hilarious because, you get in these Bible apps and then they have like these reading plans, and no joke, they have one that's called a 30-day shred. And I'm like, this is hilarious. Like you read the Bible in 30 days. And so they're calling it like a 30-day shred. And I'm like, this is genius, because I'm about to take a road trip that's like really long. And I'm like, I wonder how much of a 30-day shred I can fit in 17 hours one way or whatever. Okay, so that's beside the point. What I wanted to share was, okay, so y'all know what a rainbow is, okay? But my 30-day shred was taking me through Genesis, of course. And it was like, look, I will put my bow in the sky as a promise to you that I will never destroy the world as a flood. And I remember when I was very little, a rainbow, that's God talking to us. And as I got older and as like science crept into the picture, oh, pshaw, that's water droplets reflecting in the light and blah, 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 blah. And so it kind of started to feel immature or foolish or silly to be excited when you saw a rainbow and to say that's God talking to us. Although secretly, I was always still looking for that rainbow. If it was raining and there was like even just a little bit of sun, I'd be like, look, there ought to be a rainbow. Look for it. Look for it. And I'm just right now just going to reclaim and commit to clearly telling my children, this is God's promise to us, because God is the one who made refracting light. God is the one who made our ability to see that and to comprehend it. And then he told us in his word that that's a promise and a reminder. And when his bow is in the sky, not only are we to think about him and his covenant with us to never destroy us by water again, but it says he looks at that and he remembers the covenant that we have together. So if you want an encounter with God, appreciate rainbows like a child would appreciate them. And that's just my what's up this week.
Can I interject something?
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. I love rainbows too, and I don't care if they're just water droplets. It's still a miracle to me.
Yeah.
But here's a little science experiment for you and your kids. Okay, so you know how to make a prism? Make it into a bow shape.
Ooh, okay.
Good luck.
Really?
Yes.
Because you can only really get kind of like a weird square of
Yep, or a
prism,
line. You can get a line.
but no bow.
Right.
Huh.
We can talk about that later.
Right, Sage. Yes, that's exact. Sage is saying science and God do not have to be correct, because what I've discovered is scientists are really just documenting what God is doing. Scientists aren't discovering or creating anything.
Right.
They're like, well, they're discovering, but they're discovering what God has done, and they're just documenting it and putting it into a language that we can all know we're talking about the same thing. So we talk about gravity, but scientists didn't create it. They didn't invent it. They only wrote down what they saw and what they experienced and gave us this term gravity so we could throw it around and not have to be like, what are you talking about? So anyway, I totally agree with you, because science is simply exploring God's creation and helping us to understand it. Anyway.
You know, we're just reading The Case for Faith as our family devotions.
I love that series.
And we just had this conversation 2 nights ago. There's an astrophysicist that drew a diagram, like light travels at a certain speed. And so he went back and he found the point and he graphed it where light didn't exist and then light did exist. And don't ask me about the methodology because I couldn't explain it. But he made a statement, and he said, because he's a Christian, and he said, if there was total darkness and then God said, let there be light, could you imagine what that might sound like? Like suddenly light appears. He said, I think it would sound like a big bang.
Wow.
Interesting.
So I thought that was really cool. So I'll go next so that I'm not talking a whole lot, even though I don't talk a lot, but So we're a real church now. My husband and I started a church, and we have sent in the articles of incorporation. We've received our tax ID number, and we are officially registered with our denomination. So we just have to wait for that paperwork to come back, and we can open a bank account, and then we will be rolling. So that's kind of the excitement in our life right now.
Wow, that's a big deal.
Yeah. So pray for us. Jennifer?
Well, my what's up is spent last night, all afternoon and last evening, making candies and fudge and things for my girls to box up to take to their teachers. And
I thought you were going to say that sweater.
No, I did not make this sweater. The sweater actually is legit. When cleaning out my aunt's house, we talked about it a lot, came across this gem that was not for a joke. Like, I think she owned it because she loved it, like not for a sweater party or anything. And it's just beautiful. It's, if you can see, it just keeps going and going. And it's just, even on the back, there's a sled up here. It's just so great. So
okay, now you have to turn around and show us the sled.
I don't think I can, but anyway, it's my hair is blocking it. But yeah, so been eating lots of fudge because the holidays.
Is it keto?
Oh, absolutely not. No, I'm gonna pay for this. I'm gonna put on 20 pounds and I'll be happy.
No, you won't.
It'll be fine. Well, I won't be happy. I'll be totally happy.
You might get a little puffy, but that'll all go away when you get back on your.
For sure, I am already getting puffy because I cannot it's just such good food. Like,
I feel puffy, and I'm not keto, so I don't know what to do.
So yeah, and as far as like the holidays, I'm kind of where Robin is. Robin said earlier that she's like 75% done, but she has to be done by tomorrow. She says by noon tomorrow. Which thanks for being here with us, then, Robin. If you have so much to do, but I'm about there. I do a lot of online shopping. We are going either tonight or tomorrow to Detroit to see the tree. My kids don't know this, but we're gonna go ice skating downtown Detroit, just do like a fun-filled family Christmas thing and get the rest of like the little shopping done. Like, I take the kids to buy for each other and whatnot. And so yeah, so there was a comment. Where is this? Robin says, Jen can tell you and she were related. Why? What's the matter with what are you saying exactly, Robin? All right. So a couple of the what's ups. Maria says, we haven't had the easiest week. A couple of issues to do with church that are resolved now, but first few days were tough. Sorting Christmas out too, pretty much there, I think. Yeah, I think a lot of people are sorting out Christmas still. And I'm glad to see whatever it was has been sorted out. I know there was at least one more on here that was Robin's. That was hers, 75% done. So yeah, so that's where I'm at. Candy, fudge and candy.
I have a huge stack of presents on my dining room table I have to wrap.
I
to pay somebody to do it. Just putting that out there.
Here's Sage's before we go. Sage says that she's got one Christmas thing left to do, and then she's way far behind on her deadline. Lucky her publisher is awfully sweet and willing to give her an extension. That's really good. So we here in the Tog House, we are pretty conservative with Christmas. Like my kids get 3 presents from us because that's what Jesus got. Who do you think you are?
I did that too when my kids were small. Now they get one.
They get from each other, Yeah, it's a little different now. I think my kids are actually getting 4 presents from us this year just because of how it worked out. But so I'm not super stressed because we don't go overboard. But I think it's being a big family. Like you can't go overboard when you have that many kids, right? So
right.
What about you ladies? Are you guys kind of keep it low key, or is it a big deal for your family?
I always did the gold, frankincense, and myrrh thing when my kids were small. Where the gold gift was the one thing they really want. And the frankincense was a like a smell good kind of thing, and so they get like body wash or perfume or cologne or something or like a candle that smells good for my daughter. The boys would get like Axe or something, and that they were big into that when they were small.
Yeah.
And the myrrh gift, it was used in worship, so something that's going to grow them spiritually. Devotional, a Christian CD, a new Bible.
What a great idea.
So that's what I always did. And now they're adults, they get one gift.
Well, I'm sort of
out a check.
I'm sort of a reformed Grinch because once upon a time I didn't do Christmas because I was smarter than all the other Christians and I knew what was right and what was best. Now we just kind of don't do Christmas because, we never have, and why complicate things? And so we kind of still do presents though in our family, but like all of our Christmas celebration is when we go to other Christmas celebrations. So our house doesn't really have that kind of a thing, which is great because it makes it very easy if we're going to travel. There's no disappointed children that they didn't get the big Christmas tree moment or kind of whatever. So for our family, it's just always kind of worked out really great. And plus, we were kind of raised, both of us, well, no, actually just me, but I was kind of raised to where really we're going to give each other a present. Why don't we just hand each other a $20 bill? So when I get around my family and stuff, we go and have experiences together. So fortunately, I don't have tons to buy. I have like just a couple, like a niece and a nephew that I like to get them a present just because, I like to give gifts to people. But yeah, we don't have much to do in the way of prep and stuff like that. So it's a pretty chill season for me. What about you, Rhonda?
Well, I know for Rhonda, at least, her mom says, I'm watching today, so no coal in my stocking, Rhonda.
Yeah, well, that's not good enough. She's still getting a big old hunk of coal. No, in my family, when I was growing up, we used to have everybody over at my grandma's house on Christmas Eve, and it was a room full of gifts. And it was just wrapping, flying through the air, and it was just so much fun. And for my own personal family, we did the 3 gifts. But now that my kids are older, this year, since none of my children are watching, I'm buying them experiences. For this the first year on that, specifically only doing that.
Yeah.
And then and then for my extended family, we started, I don't know if you ever heard of the website Elfster, but it's like drawing names online.
That's
it's
cute.
Names with technology.
Yeah. Okay.
And you can put your wish list on there, and they stay up all year round for birthdays and things like that. And anyway, so for the rest of the family, it's one gift, and then always a white elephant, because it would not be a Christmas without a white elephant.
Right. Yeah, I like white elephants.
Explain to listeners who maybe aren't from the United States what a white elephant is.
Okay, well, a white elephant exchange is everybody brings one gift that is tacky. It can be used, or it can be like the lamest infomercial gift. It can be whatever, but
It can
you
be
don't spend
literally a
money on
white
it.
elephant. It could be literally a statue of a white. Like that's kind
Yes.
of encapsulates the type of a thing you're supposed to bring. Because
Yes,
who has a use for that, right?
yes, or decorative candles from 1970, or which is usually something along the lines of what I bring. But you all wrap it, like this year, we're all wrapping in white tissue paper, so you can't figure out which gift you brought. And anyway, then
You get to steal. Do you do that?
yes, you get to steal one time.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
My favorite part.
yeah,
That's fun.
it gets
Well,
a little violent.
Sage says that Christmas is a difficult time of year for me,
Oh,
but it's very
sorry.
important
Aw.
to my mother-in-law, so I do Christmas for her now.
Okay.
I just want to put that up there because Sage, I think you're not alone. This
Mhm.
Christmas is, if I didn't have little ones that I was like really kind of like on board with Christmas for, it would be very difficult for me this year. And so
Yeah.
just know I'm going to add you to my prayer list because I just think that this can be the greatest time of the year, and it can also be the worst time of the year, depending on what
Sure.
your life experience is. So just know
Sure.
you're being prayed for.
Just to reply, yes, it is the same as Yankee Swap. But Secret Santa, I'm not sure how it is for you, but for us, Secret Santa is usually you try to buy something nice for someone and it's a secret. Well, that's not the point of White Elephant.
No, white
They're
elephant.
like
is
gag
the-
gifts.
they're like, yeah. Mhm.
It's like so awful that no one wants it or everybody wants it because
Yeah,
it's so
the worst
awful.
gift is the prize.
And there's always that one gift that everybody steals. Like it goes
Yeah.
around the whole.
We
Yeah.
always did white elephant that you couldn't spend money on it. It had to be something you took from your house.
That's
yes,
fun.
that's what we do.
Right.
Yep.
But that's not like my kids have been invited to white elephant parties this year, and I had to buy things because it
Oh
wasn't
no.
right. So when I was still working with the teens, I did a white elephant with my Sunday school class, and I took an old lamp that was in the basement. I didn't even dust it off. They fought over that lamp. It was a pineapple based brown like lamp, and they fought over it. And last I heard that the kid that won it is like a sophomore at Michigan State University. Last I heard, he still had it in his bedroom. I don't know if he was just saying that to make me happy, but whatever. So yeah, they're
Well,
fun.
the best gift I ever brought was, or I let my kids take to their youth group exchange, was, do you remember when people used to take pop cans and cut the logo off and then crochet them together into a hat?
What?
I saw purses before.
Crocheting them together?
Yeah. And it was
Wow.
coveted. They were totally coveting at church that day.
Okay, ladies. Well, I have to break up this scintillating
Oh,
Christmas conversation because we have a topic.
we did.
Oh, we do?
We need to fit in there somehow. So
So that was our topic.
oh well, no. We were all like, what are we going to talk about? And nobody was saying anything. And I thought, well, I have to, as soon as, I'm just about ready to send everything off to be edited. And so what I'm going to be doing while that's gone is finishing my cover design for authors course that I bought through SPF University, Mark Dawson, and designing my cover. So I thought, well, that's what's on my mind is covers. And so let's talk about covers because no one else came up with anything better. So
This is the real secret workings behind the scenes at the Christian
There you go.
Writers podcast.
So book covers, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's
Oh, that would have been a good title.
well, that's what I wrote in the outline.
I didn't see that
Nobody
before I did
looked
the
at
graphic. I did look at your outline.
I did look at the outline, and all I could think of is that I need to be careful because I can be very kind of critical, and I'm really trying to not be. I'm very repentant, but it's just so hard sometimes when you see a book cover and you wonder what are they thinking, because to them it might be like a really good job, and so we just have to be careful and to talk about things that are not subjective, because art, like an artistic piece, some people will like and some people won't. But there are some things that just are big do's or don'ts, right? Like we have to be very careful not to be critical of someone's hard work and effort. But still, let's carry on.
We'll get to talking a little bit later in the outline about good versus bad, because Jamie and I, actually all four of us, have had some really fun Facebook Messenger conversations with images from books that we found.
Yeah, there's some doozies out there. But, covers are important. And does anyone want to talk about that? Or I could talk about it? Or
Well, I mean, they always say don't judge a book by its cover. Why?
But I do.
So why does that expression exist? Because there's a tendency to think a person is wonderful if they're all fancified, but you never know what's inside. So the statement is like, well, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a good book because it has an attractive cover. Well, then why is that analogy made? Because books with an attractive cover are picked up and often purchased based on the fact alone that they have a cover that works. Okay. So it's got nothing to do with what's inside your book. You can sell a book by having a good cover. That's basically the takeaway.
Right.
So they draw your eye in. We can all agree on that, but it's not just in the bookstore too. Like back in the day, it was about people picking up the book, right? But also you have to. So then you have to worry also about Amazon and seeing it as a thumbnail too. So the image is very important. So the cover is going to sell it or not, because how many times have you flipped through Amazon and clicked on a book cover that said books like this, or just because the cover was interesting or looks similar to one that you've already read? There's something about it that makes you click on it. If there's nothing interesting on it, you're not going to click on it.
Right.
Maria says, yeah, because it's essentially art, which is so subjective. That's very true.
Yeah.
Yep. What Jane said.
And so different genres have different styles of book covers, and a lot, like, you can tell a romance right off the bat just by looking at the cover.
Well, you ought to be able to tell a romance,
yes,
right?
you ought.
Yes. That's your goal, right? Is to be like right in line with what other people in your genre are doing?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Because if I'm looking for a romance, I'm looking at these covers and I'm going to pick ones that speak romance to me. If I'm looking for science fiction, then there's something I want to see on the cover that's going to tell me that it's science fiction, or if it's a thriller. So the cover design actually has a method to it. And one of the things that I've had to do is go through Amazon and look at covers that are in genres that are similar to mine and see what they're doing with their covers so that I can fit in. This is one time you don't want to stand out.
Right, because you might even think because you picked up, if you wrote a Western and you read a Louis L'Amour book way back, in the day, you might think what a Western cover should look like, but have you looked at them lately? Right? So refresh yourself what your genre is doing.
Right. Yeah.
And very specifically, like for me, like it's not just historical romance. It's not just Christian romance. Like I have to specifically look for historical Christian romance, because historical romance, there's a lot of skin showing often. And in the non-Christian historical romance. And then in Christian romance, it could be anything from like a Karen Kingsbury that is set current day. But some people are very specific about their taste with romance, and they don't want something that maybe is a historical. So I have to make sure that my covers fit in with what other readers are reading in my genre, because I want them to pick up my book.
Yeah, exactly.
Something else I've learned too, like we talked about Amazon a little bit, but what I found specifically with my genre, and it may just be specific to my genre, is that for me, it was important to go into a bookstore and look at books in my genre. Because I have found that and this is just my own research. This is I'm sure you could find stuff out there scientifically, research. But in my own research, talking with readers in person, with people that are really into the genre, a huge majority of them still read the actual physical book. My peeps are like the 60 plus. Like my fan base is huge grandmas. Like, wait, no, not huge grandmas. But the huge part of my fan base.
What are you trying to say about us, huge grandmas?
It's grandmas. And so they're not into ebooks. Some of them are, but most of them aren't. And so when I'm designing a book cover, I have to not only be concerned with the thumbnail, but I have learned that the little details on my book cover are very important. I have had people come to me. One person said to me, I was so mad because you didn't have Warren on the cover. And then about the third or fourth time I looked at your cover, I saw him. I'm like, you're looking at it that often? But like, if you look, all right, so the book she was talking about was my first one. And like for kind of what you're seeing right now on YouTube would kind of be maybe a guess about the size. But if you look really close, I don't know if you can tell, but there's Warren down there. Like, she was like super upset that I didn't have, because there was an expectation for her, because she read the genre often. She had this expectation that it would look a certain way. And so I had to be concerned about those kind of things in my specific genre. And I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't done a ton of research. I saved a bunch of pictures, like screenshots. I went into the bookstore. I took pictures of the racks of my genre, what it looked like on, like from a distance, what the books look like up close. And I did that for months before I even published.
Good tip. Because it does have a direct impact on sales. There's studies out there, I'm sure you could find that. And you know, Mark Dawson gives people advice sometimes in some of the Facebook groups, and they're like, well, my book's not selling. And he'll say, well, why don't you update your cover? And they'll update their cover, and suddenly their book starts selling. So then that's anecdotal proof that it does have an impact on sales if you have a good cover. So let's talk about what a good cover is versus a bad cover.
Well, I mean, you know, there is the artistic, subjective kind of component going on there. But for the most part, I think the biggie we've already talked about, it nails your genre and communicates your genre, and doesn't try to portray every plot point of the book. Like, I've seen sort of adventure stories that have like a bear and a jaguar and a person shooting. And it's almost like they feel like the book cover is supposed to be a synopsis of what happens in the plot. And that is not what a book cover is supposed to be. It's mostly supposed to be like catching your eye. Think of it this way. If you're browsing through and looking at a bunch of shelves, you want it to, I mean, it's a trick, right? Because we just told you don't want to stand out and you want to blend in with everybody, but at the same time, you want to be eye-catching. So how does someone find that balance? Maybe font, maybe color choices. What would you guys say?
Well, a font is one of those things that's also genre specific. So you have to pick fonts within your genre, but I say layout, and I think color is huge. I don't know what else.
I think images. I think it's so important that you have good images. Now, for me, my being historical, I have a problem finding images because the time period that I write in is not super popular. World War II, yes. Before World War I, yes. But the Edwardian period and right during World War I and after World War I, very difficult to find images. So there are ways of getting around that too. Like, I actually paid to have photos taken, and then I was able to use them, which was great because then I didn't have to pay anyone else any royalties.
That's it. So, we should probably park there for a minute. Like, people should not like grab a picture off of Facebook or something and put that on their book cover. Like, we should talk about this because there are people who just have no clue. Like, your picture, any picture you do not own, you cannot use unless you have permission to use it. Let's just say that, okay? Yes. So make sure whatever licensing agreement you're clicking, like, research that and make sure you're not illegally using somebody else's property. It's intellectual property to sell books, because you're just opening yourself up for a lot of trouble and drama.
And I think that's why people go to websites like Shutterstock, because it's so easy to just click a button and make the agreement that you can use this photo for commercial purposes, because that's the reason those photos are on there.
Just make sure, just
right.
Every
but
person.
There are different agreements, like
there
are different things you can select, and so some of them you can use to put on your book cover, but maybe not to make a poster or a mug, so you have to be careful.
Or you can only sell 30,000 copies. Like, oh, what a problem to have, and then you have to like stop using the image, right? So. Just that's every individual. There's no blanket statement that is like, here's how to be sure you're covered. You have to figure it out for yourself. Covered.
So, here's what I did. So like funny. my main images, the girls on my cover, are girls that they chose to do it for free for me. They're friends of mine, young girls, young women. And I went to, here in the United States, I went to JCPenney Studios. No joke. If you buy the CD from them, you have full rights to the images on there to do whatever you want. So I can do whatever I want with the images I have of these girls.
That's a really good solution for someone who needs a model and they can't find one that's not overused or
Yes.
whatever. Mhm.
And then you could find someone locally, a friend that take the pictures. Now that I've like done this, I know I can mess with light in the pictures enough that I could possibly take some of my own photos, possibly. But it was really nice to have some professional photos of that. The rest of the images, and it's amazing once you start doing it, how many images you end up using on a book. And I guess I should have done that math before I started with here, because I couldn't find a guy in a tux with the right hat. So there's 2 images right there. I had to put a hat on him. And it was small enough that it wasn't super obvious. And then the background is not the same as what the building was. And like, so, and then I also have some like tapestry, if you look closely, like in the backgrounds of it, kind of blended in to just give it another extra layer. All of those images I purchased off of either Shutterstock or Deposit Photos, and I did the level that was somewhere in the like where I think it's 100,000 copies or 30, maybe it's 30,000. I don't know. Here's the thing though, when you get to that point, you can go back in the image that you bought and you can buy the next level up. If I sell 30,000 copies, I can afford to up the level of the images I purchased, or maybe I want to redo the covers. I don't know. So that worked out for me. So since I was not paying a designer, I did invest some money in the images.
Can we also park there for a second, because you're talking about using Photoshop to a degree that would frighten people. You're talking about putting a hat on. You're talking about manipulating images and things like this. And so when do you know it's time to use a professional? What skill level do you need to have, do you think, or how do people know that they have the skills? Should they just hire someone?
There's different levels. I would agree absolutely with that. I have a background in Photoshop, so a little bit, not to the extent of what a normal book cover designer would. But like Tina had mentioned, I did purchase that class from SPF. Well worth the money. It's a lot of money. I would think it was $250, $300. That's a lot of money. I've done 2 book covers. So you split that money in half and it's less than $150 per book cover. I can't get a book cover designed, a good quality one, for $150. Every book that I design after this just brings the cost of that down per book. So
Right.
if you're going to do multiple books, in my opinion, I think it is a good investment in your business. You have to look at your writing as a business.
Do you think you have to have a basic knowledge of Photoshop, or that class wouldn't help you? Or do you think that could take you from 0 to hero? Do you think that class is enough? Or do you think maybe if you have 0 Photoshop experience, you're better off hiring? What do you think?
I
It's
think
not so much
that course is very comprehensive, and as long as you are fairly good at figuring out tech, I think that course will help you. And they also talk about using Canva, which is like an online website that you can do similar things to Photoshop.
And
Right.
let me just say too, okay, I've been using Photoshop for 20 years, so it's not a problem for me. But there is a program called PSE, short, it's Photoshop Elements, and it is very basic. So Jamie, I know that you've used GIMP. So GIMP is more like the full Photoshop program, where PSE is very, very usable. So, and it's also inexpensive.
Yeah. For me, I don't think, to answer your question, Jamie, I think that you could go from 0 to hero as far as skill level. I don't think that's the problem. I think is that you have to be very honest with yourself and assess whether you have an eye for design.
Well, that's what Robin says. She says it's not necessarily skills either. Sometimes it's the ability to be objective. If you can't separate yourself from author to designer and willing. Exactly. So sort of like when you put on your editor hat, you have to kill your darlings and cross out that paragraph, even if you love it. You have to be able to be like, well, this cover stinks on ice, even though I made it myself. I know it's bad and I have to fix it, or you're not gonna fix it. Right.
Right. And maybe it's one of those things that you do have to invest some money in and try it out. And you may honestly find out you can't do it. I think most people by this point, if you have an artistic flair or not. if you have never ever been able to do anything crafty, if you're the kid in class that everybody got a gold stamp on their coloring page and your teacher said you tried, maybe you're not the one that should be doing your book cover. I mean, like, this is a time, because this is going to sell your book or not. This is really the first thing that people see. So I think it probably is a good thing that you need to assess in yourself. If you try a book cover, Canva is a great place to start. I did go to Canva first, just so I had things to put on my, like, years ago, like before, when I was first writing, just so I had things to put on my social media, and that was great for them. And I was able to mess around with that and get something that was, kind of attractive. And if you're only doing an ebook, it'd be great. You don't need to have anything else. But yeah, I think you need to really be honest with yourself. And ladies, you ladies know how many different versions of my book cover did I have before we finally settled on this is the one. And it would be little tweaks. You guys probably got sick of seeing it. Should the font be this color or that color? Which one do you like better? Like,
Right.
It went on and on and on. And so it's not, I think it's the same mindset. If somebody like writes a book, goes over it once and said, "Oh, I'm ready to publish," and everyone else is screaming, "No, you're not ready." It's the same thing with book covers. You can't just do a book cover and be like, "Oh, that's beautiful, I'm done." You have to have some feedback, and you have to be willing to really work with it and get it to a place that it looks professional.
Okay, I have a question. Now that you've worked so hard on that and have such beautiful covers for your books, when is it time to change them?
I don't know. Like right now, I feel like, I would never change them. I love them.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I know, I mean, traditionally published authors, I think it's like every 10 years.
Is
The
it?
publishing company changes them out. If it was a good selling book, if they did well with it the first time, they will like kind of resell them as a different edition. And that just kind of brings in more sales. So it's really more about that at that point for getting more sales, right?
Just like Westerns 50 years ago, book covers look different than they do today. I think you have to keep up with the times. So if you want your book to keep selling, you have to change as those kind of tropes, for lack of a better word, change. Then you want to be current.
I think I have 3 different versions of Jeanette Oakes' Love Comes Softly.
Yeah.
If I find a different one, I buy it because I just think that's fascinating to me to have the different covers over the years.
I just did a quick search on the very first fantasy novel I ever read. And so this is the cover that I originally read. This one here. Oh, we can't
see the white one?
I don't know how to use it.
Yeah, we can see it.
Here,
okay.
I'll put you full screen.
And so anyway, this is only 4 of them. She's got 9 that I can count real quick. And
I'm so jealous of that pen name. That pen name is brilliant. It's just so Mary Stewart.
I love it. And for what she writes, it's just great.
Well, Robin is saying she uses something called Affinity Publisher in case anybody else is looking for an alternative to a monthly fee in Photoshop. But the bottom line is, if you're brand new, you better know how to find some tutorials to use whatever wackadoodle program you decide to kind of venture into, because I will tell you, I'm a brand new, like, I mean, not a brand, but really I'm not someone like Rhonda or Jen who would ever say I had a Photoshop background. So it's really an investment. It's a time commitment, an investment of your brain power. So you just have to really weigh the pros and cons of just hiring it done. You may find people to barter with you. If you might be willing to edit for them, they might be willing to do a cover for you or something like that, because we haven't even touched on what this can cost, and it's not cheap. So if you can't do it yourself and you can't afford something that looks good, because sure, anybody can go to Fiverr and hire a book cover, but then it can be a you get what you pay for. So search around and see if you can't find someone in your life that could be this person for you, and see if maybe they would just appreciate the artistic outlet of it. Maybe you could say to them, I intend to write more than one book, and as things improve for me, I'll be able to pay you or something like that. Isn't it interesting that we lost Jen? Isn't she in control of all of this?
Yeah.
Are we still live? Can you guys type in the chat if you still see us and stuff?
The live button is still lit up. So
yeah, and it's still on.
Maybe she just had to turn off her camera, like maybe, a child or an animal ran into the screen or something like that.
We were talking about images, and she was talking about she needed a certain kind of hat. I'm writing like a completely made up world that's kind of a cross between cultures.
Yeah.
So trying to find somebody wearing the right parka. But luckily in my genre, I discovered that most of the images of people on the books are in silhouette. So all I needed was, like, I have a picture of my daughter in like a modern parka that you would buy at Burlington Coat Factory. She's standing by the lake. She lives on a lake and she's got her arms out like this. It was just almost perfect.
It's just another creative way to solve the problem, Tina. So
Yeah,
I totally am all for it. And especially since now you own the image.
Yeah, and I learned I've taken like half that course, and they showed you how to turn an image into a silhouette. So I just turned her into a silhouette, and it's perfect, and put on my cover.
Perfect.
Something I was going to bring up. I wish Jen was here right now, but anyway, for her Regency era books, you could always go to a historical society, because when people donate to the museums, the museum owns it if that's what they checked off. And sometimes museums are always looking for donations. So you could ask them if you could use the photo for your book.
Wow.
In exchange for a donation to them.
That's wonderful. So even if you're writing like a literary piece, something in a museum might be exactly the feeling that you want, like to match your aesthetic. So that's a really good idea. Also, I found public domain images can sometimes work depending on your genre. But now, so Jen's not here, and probably we're kind of over half of our podcast. So like, she won't get to share her little story or whatever with us. I wonder, well, that's a bummer.
Okay, well, I think the time says that we need to move on. So if she comes back, we can always let her share her little, if she had a story to tell. Oh, you're talking about what she wrote.
Yeah, her little feedback piece. That's sad.
Yep. And Robin, if you could let us know a little bit more about that archive you're talking about, that'd be great.
Yeah. So also, I think that we could probably talk a lot longer about covers. Oh, there's Jen.
So my power just flickered off. Like just flickered. And that just sent everything, because my laptop's fine because it can run without power, but nothing else could. So like my internet went out, and then it was taking forever. So sorry about that.
We're just glad you're back.
Yeah. So let's move on to the feeding of the backs.
Yay.
That's a little funny term that we came up with because we give feedback. And so we like to say, is your back well fed when we're done? And so we don't give anything but positive criticism. And is there such a thing as positive? Isn't that like a oxymoron? Positive criticism?
So.
No.
Okay. I definitely had negative criticism, and it doesn't feel like positive.
Okay. Well, we give positive feedback because we've had 15 minutes to write with a story prompt, no time to think about it first, and no time to edit. So who wants to go first? Any volunteers?
Well, my dinosaur laptop is still rebooting, so I cannot go first.
Okay, so I'll go first, and then I'll round everything off at the end.
I was waiting for Rhonda's cricket ringtone to chirp in after that question. Okay, go ahead.
Perfect. That would have been perfect. Okay, so the prompt was write a short story about an innkeeper wondering whether this will be their last holiday season in business. So I did write it about an innkeeper, but I never got to the part about him wondering. So because I ran out of time, but here goes.
It sounds familiar.
Where are you going? Simon asked his daughter as she squeezed her way through the crowd in the lobby toward the front door. To the well. We're running out of water, she replied. Of course she was. That would explain the clay jar she had balanced on top of her head. Simon scratched his beard, trying to ignore the clamoring and shouting of people in his lobby, upset that there were no rooms and arguing with him as if that would miraculously make a room appear. It was the Festival of Tabernacles this week, and millions of people were traveling to Jerusalem. To top that off, the Roman officials had issued a decree for a census, and that was sending even more people to town looking for a place to stay. For somewhere amidst the throng of people, a child began to wail. The cacophony made Simon's head begin to pound. He banged his fists down hard 4 times on the front counter. "Stop!" he shouted. The crowd all turned to look at him. The room finally quieting as they waited for him to speak. Simon contemplating not saying anything at all to make the peace last, but instead he said, "We are full We have no more rooms. Now everybody, go, get out. He waved his hands at them, shooing them out the door. Soon everybody was out except one very pregnant woman and her husband. The woman was seated and weeping softly. I'm sorry, Mary. We'll have to look elsewhere. The woman started to get up, but then grabbed her middle and cried out. Her husband looked around for someone to help. His eyes locked on Simon. We need a midwife, the husband said with pleading eyes. Simon softened, at the same time chiding himself for being so soft. Oh, all right, he conceded. There's a stable out back where no animals are being kept. It has fresh straw and a cot for the shepherd. I'll call for a midwife. The man pumped Simon's hand and thanked him 3 times before gathering his wife and leading her toward the back door. His daughter came in the front door carrying her jug of sloshing water on her head. Give that to me, Simon told her. Go fetch old Sarah and bring her back to the stable. 3, 2, 1.
Awesome.
Very nice.
Okay, I have feedback that's going to sound like criticism, but it absolutely is not. So what I'm going to say is I heard like an ly word, I heard an adverb, and I also heard passive voice, but I didn't think it needed to be fixed. You understand what I'm saying? Like it's an example of how you don't have to just have this hard and fast rule of I'm going to eliminate all passive voice from my work, because sometimes it's what you need to kind of set the emotion or set the pacing or kind of whatever. And so anyway, it's very, very well done. And I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Me too.
All right. Well, I'll volunteer to go next because now for something completely different, I guess, is all I'm going to say about that. What I don't know if I included is the fact that the chef, the chef who's supposed to be there is sick with stomach issues. Okay. That part didn't make it into the story. So this is on the heels of that news. Okay. Basil propped his elbows on the check-in desk and massaged his temples. After finally getting the Parkertons settled in room 4A, he'd come downstairs only to have Polly hand him a phone message that indicated the chef sent over by the staffing agency had come down with a raging case of Saturday night fever and had called off for the weekend. What are we supposed to serve the guests? He asked her. Don't yell at me. I'm not the one who called off. Don't you know how to cook anything? I can do a cup of noodles, all right. Basil wrinkled his nose. The Parkertons are not the sort to eat cup-o noodles. You may as well offer them dog turd flambe, or perhaps you would rather serve them rubbish can scraping surprise, or perhaps, but Polly had already flounced off, eyes rolling in her head like a pair of albino olives. Now Basil had a hotel full of guests and no way to give them dinner. Why? Basil moaned. He allowed his arms to flap down on the counter and linked his fingers, lifting his eyes toward the heavens. I finally get them here, and you do this? Just why? Why what, Basil? Sybil breezed past him and began rummaging through the various cubbies behind the check-in counter. Why did I ever believe what they told me about marital bliss? Don't be crude, Basil. The chef's called off, Sybil. Basil marched around the desk and over to the staircase and flung a dramatic hand upward. Up there is at least one guest in every room of our little dream business. I'll take this time to remind you this was never my dream business. Ignoring her, Basil continued. And for each of these guests, there is a botulism spore churning in the bowels of our regular chef. Well, I'll call the staffing agency to send another. Why didn't I think of that? So you've already done so? Yes, I've already done so. And what do you think became of that chef? I'm sure you'll tell me if I stand here long enough. That chef decided that shadow dancing on ladies' night at the Y'all Come Back Saloon was preferable to coming here and feeding my entire hotel full of guests. That's what's become of him. Why don't you just order in pizza, Basil? Pizza? Did you really just suggest that I serve the Parkertons pizza? Basil gripped the sides of his head and pulled on his hair. The pain seemed to center him. I tried to tell him I could do cup-o noodles, Polly offered, seemingly appearing from nowhere. Sure, fine. Let's serve cup-o noodles to the Parkertons. Maybe next week the queen herself will be here and we can whip her up a bunch of Cracker Jack. Wouldn't that just be spiffy? 3, 2, 1.
I completely agree with all the comments that is Fawlty Towers fan fiction. Oh my word. That was great.
You made everyone's day. Sage said that this has absolutely made her day. Not gonna lie, I'd flake off working for that overly dramatic dude. Maria says, so loving this.
Oh, I'm so
Awesome.
sad that there's only so many Faulty Towers episodes.
I
Why?
know.
Oh, why did they stop? I wasn't expecting it. It was one of those things where I was like waiting for the next episode. Nope, they're done. I'm like, what? It's so sad to me.
Okay, I feel totally stupid now because I've never heard of Faulty Tower.
You're
Oh,
kidding.
you would
Much
love
of a
it.
Britophile as you are, you've got to be
Yeah.
kidding.
Never heard of it.
Wow. Isn't
Well,
it on BritBox?
I like crime fiction, like crime drama. So
Oh yeah, this isn't crime.
I
No.
would probably
No.
just scroll right over that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't.
My dad watched it when I was younger, and it kind of became, I don't know, in my whatever brain. It's in there.
Faulty Towers and the name just went on my head with Bouquet.
Oh,
I've heard of that one.
Oh my word, that
Which
was
one?
so funny.
Appearances.
Yes, Keep You on
Yes,
Appearances. Oh
yeah.
my gosh. When I first discovered that show, I was a kid and I was just like dying laughing. I was so hard that my parents came in like, oh, you're watching PBS? I'm like, it's so good.
I know. and I
it
was
came
so
on right
worried.
after Mr. Bean.
I was like, well, the 15 minutes is going to have to save my bacon because like Cracker Jack, like, I don't know. I mean, I was just writing whatever. I mean, I'm seriously not researching to write authentic Faulty Tower fan fiction, but it was the best that I could do with.
Perfect.
It's awesome.
You need to go back in time 40 years and write some more episodes.
Oh,
I wonder,
yeah.
is it on BritBox?
Yes,
Because now I want to go watch all the
I've seen it.
episodes.
Maybe it's Prime. I've
Okay,
seen
so
it on
can
Prime.
I ask a question for the people who would know how to answer, which I hope doesn't get us
Richard
into
too.
trouble. But I was going to have Basil call her a trollop, but I found out that is a loose woman sort of a thing. But how bad is that really to call somebody? Like, do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Amy, that's
like,
a
is
swear
it-
word.
That's what I'm asking.
No, I'm
Is
kidding.
that
I don't know.
really- Yeah,
I don't know. I just want to make you
I
nervous.
would not
I
have been
don't-
offended.
No.
That's not
Well,
swear.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know it means a woman of loose morals. And then I was also taking a chance that nobody knew what I was talking about. Why is this man calling his wife his little trollop? But that's kind of what he did. Do you know what I mean? And
Right.
whatever. Anyway.
You know, it's amazing to the people that are listening to this or watching this right now or later in the replay. What they need to understand is this is a common conversation with us where we would message the whole group and say, is this word okay? Or does this word mean what I think it means? Like, would a Christian throw this book away if I put this word in? And it's usually words like trollop. It's not like bad words. We know the bad words. It's those borderline words. We're like, are we going to be offending my grandma if I put this word in there?
Right.
So, Sage says in her experience, it is not a terribly offensive word. So
Great.
it's
Unless
now
you're a
added to our
trollop.
list.
If you are a trollop, you probably. So if you're offended by that word, you might want to check yourself.
It's really a shame because, in my opinion, a trollop sounds like something really good to eat, like a sweetie or like, you know what I mean? Ooh, I want to get some trollops. Like it sounds like it would come in a package with nice branding and, new and improved trollops covered in chocolate or whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? Or is it just
Uh-huh.
me?
It sounds like something you'd find on the beach, like in the waves to me. Like, I guess because it sounds so much
Like
like
scallops.
yeah, it sounds like scallop. So I'm like,
It's truffle flavored scallops is what I think it is.
Okay, now the British person's opinion is it certainly wouldn't be politically correct. Not a swear word, but not a nice word to call somebody. So just keep it in mind.
All right, good to
Mhm.
know. Also,
So I
Maria
should come
says that
across and say, what's up, trollops?
okay, if you're not American, you don't get how really funny that is. Oh my gosh. Oh, all right, now my day has been made. That is now my new go-to for when we log in. What's up, trollops? Maria says that she loves the idea of BritBox. Do you not know what BritBox is? In the United States, we have this thing called an app, a digital TV app, just like Netflix, but it's called BritBox. And
there's
yeah.
more than there's also Acorn.
Yes.
Acorn and BritBox and BBC America. You can also get that
How
streaming.
amusing this must be. How amusing would it be to watch 4 people from another country discuss our culture as just so
Mhm.
fascinating. Like, I mean, we must look so silly. Like, oh, these little children are so precious with their curiosity about our stuff. But also, Maria caught my now for something completely different, being a Monty Python reference. Yes, because to me, John Cleese, his name actually was Monty Python when I was a little girl, because I'm like, oh, it's Monty Python. Because here is
That's
his show,
hilarious.
because he is always there. Yes.
Okay, we better move on, or we're gonna be way over time. So
Yeah.
Okay.
We just
Well,
don't want to do
Jennifer-
accountability corner.
yeah.
Jennifer will go next.
Okay.
My screen's completely blank because I hadn't saved it, and for some reason, my computer didn't recover it. So,
Oh,
and I am sure that it would have been my opus. I'm sure that this
Too
15-minute sprint was going to be the breakthrough writing of my career, and it's gone now.
That's why I write in Google Docs
You should have
now every
said-
time.
You should have said with the most serious face ever, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, or something. And then we all would have been like, what? This sounds really familiar for some reason. Oh, poor Jen. I'm
That's
sure
all
it was amazing. What was it like about? Was it a romance?
But it was a married romance.
Mm,
Aw, was it
yeah.
a couple? Was
It
it,
was
our
a
cancer
couple. No, it wasn't. It was nope. It was a different couple. But I liked them. They, were trying to decorate the tree, and the lights wouldn't work, and she was mad about it. And he was like just very like chill about it. And that's like, but she's really the more stress is because they're about to lose this thing that they've been doing since they were, young couple got married, and then they've been 20 years in, and now still can't make it work. And it was, and he kisses her at the end. There was a kiss scene.
mm.
So
Can't make what work? The Christmas lights?
no, well, they can't make the Christmas lights work, but really they can't make the end work.
The Christmas lights are indicative of their
Oh.
marriage.
How ironic.
Yeah, that was exactly how I
Electricity killed them.
how ironic. what?
Electricity murdered these people.
I'm telling you, they're listening. A few weeks ago on I don't remember if it was this or it was some other video chatting thing that we use. I was talking with Jamie about the fact that my daughter has made a decision she wants to be homeschooled. I had not Google searched anything. I had not called. I had not anything. And later that day, all of my ads started showing up for homeschooling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, like it was people always. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but that made me a believer. I've creeped me out big time.
Wow.
Rhonda, don't you think it's time to confess that you've taken over Jennifer's ad server and are messing with her? No, I'm just kidding.
why are you giving me up, Jamie?
Really awesome.
Okay.
All right,
speaking of
Rhonda.
Rhonda, it's your turn.
Yeah, Rhonda.
All
I
right.
look up at you. You up there. It's your turn.
All right. So I wasn't going to do any more of these on my story, but it ended up happening anyway. So I got like 150 words this time, so it's better. All right. As I wrestled the large corner piece out of the way, the thought of leaving this business forever in a few months didn't seem like such a bad idea. Why am I still doing this? I groaned, slowly straightening my back out after sweeping the corner. Yes, Hazel, why are you? You could be on a sunny beach picking up shells, maybe enjoying that trip to Hawaii you've always promised yourself, Ellie commented. That nice young man who came in here last week made you a very nice offer on this place, and you just shoot him out of here. I don't even know who that young man was. He just came out of nowhere. I paused to push the cabinet back into the corner. I rested against it, taking a moment to catch my breath before moving on to the pile of items that came in this morning. Who knows what I'll do with this place, with all these treasures? Ellie looked over her shoulder toward the back of the room. What would it matter? You've been dealing with these antiques for 50 years now. You take such loving care with everything in this building, everything except you. I grunted at her in reply. You're an antique too, you know. But what if he's just another developer wanting the land? I would never forgive myself if this old schoolhouse was torn down to make room for another Dollar General. The thought made me nauseous. Do a little checking. I'll check on him for you. How's that? Ellie perked up with the offer. The end. So far.
Love that.
That's really poignant because, I mean, if you think about replacing the Schoolhouse Museum with a Dollar General, I mean, you're replacing real with plastic. Like, I mean, it's just so heavy with symbolism, right? I mean, wow, like that's heavy.
And I love too, like the Dollar General reference, especially in our area. They are popping up all over the place, and it's one of those things that like it's convenience, and so that people will probably overlook the damage that it does because of what the convenience that it's added. And I think that's so what we do in the United States. I don't think other countries are as bad as the US, but like when in other parts of the country, our country as well, like when I lived in Boston, I just loved all the historical buildings. And that's one of the things I've complained about in my books, is that one of the reasons why I really chose to focus on the theater district in Lansing is because they're beautiful, beautiful architecture. And now they are parking lots because they needed parking lots. Where other countries, other parts of even our country, you would not be allowed to do that. So I think that really hits home for me. I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm. I just have to say, Rhonda, I love everything you write.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
I really do.
Everything?
You have this way of, in very few words, you always evoke an emotion.
Well, thank you.
And I really love that.
I appreciate that.
We are allowing her to be president of your fan club for now. The rest of us are working on a mutiny, but for now, she gets to be president, and the rest of us just have to be lowly peon members.
As long as
but I
don't
agree
do
with what.
Well, thank you.
So, Rhonda, are you going to scoot out of here? You want to quickly tell us your accountability so you can? I know you got some things to do. You need a boogie.
I do. If we're going to wrap up in the next minute or two, yeah. Or I can just give it now and leave.
Yeah, give it now, and then you can leave whenever you're ready, right? We'll just say, bye, Rhonda, for now. And then if you have to go and you disappear, we won't be surprised.
Okay. All right. So my accountability is that during Nano, I started such a good habit, and I actually stuck with it through December so far. And I'd like to continue. And I know that I need to take a break once in a while, but I really don't think that writing an hour a day is not giving myself a break. Now, if I were to do it for 8 hours, like try to do all the social media and, all the other peripheral things, but I'm going to try to continue writing an hour a day. I don't really care to be much like Stephen King, but when he goes on vacation, every day he writes 4,000 words, except for when he goes on vacation. And then every morning he writes 4,000 words. So I really love that quote. And I'm going to try it this Christmas and see how it goes. And I'll let you know.
4,000 words?
No, not 4,000 words.
Oh.
No, just an hour a day is what I'm going to stick
I was going to say.
No, that'd be great if I could do that. Oh, my word.
So good for you. That's really exciting. Are you going to try to publish? Like, you had something that was so close to the finish line. Are you back burnering that, or what's going on?
Well, when we're talking about the Christmas compilation, that one, it just needs to be gone over like one more time and it's ready to go. And my Z thing, that's what I was working on before Nano. So as soon as I get all the way through this draft of my Nano project, then I'm setting that aside before the final draft. And then I'll go back to Z for that.
I was talking more about, it was something that was nonfiction and you had layout issues and there was pictures or graphs or something.
Back, like May, June. Yep.
Yeah. Actually, I haven't worked on that since before we went to Croatia. And I really need to pick that up because that is so close to being done. Maybe
I would love to sit down with you with that software I have. I'll do it I'll work on it. Like I want you across the finish line with me, sister.
Okay. I need to go through that one more time. I think I might have conquered those, but I'll let you know. And if I
know you were so close, but I know Croatia kind of threw a big monkey wrench into the whole works. Yeah. But because you were going to be showing us a book. So you know what I mean? I think you just needed to be refreshed that existed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I totally don't mean to be. I'm sorry, Tina. I'm like taking over host land, so I'll be quiet now.
So you have offered Rhonda before to come over and help me with my aunt's house. Let's after the holidays, let's make that happen where we meet in the morning and we'll get some work done. And then we'll also sit down and look at that project and see what we need to do with that too. We'll like split the day in half or something and have lunch and, girl thing.
Sounds good.
All right.
Okay. Who's next?
Okay. I'll go next. Since
I'm going to say goodbye to everybody now. Goodbye to everybody in the chat. Goodbye to everybody here.
Merry Christmas, Rhonda.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas, Rhonda.
Merry Christmas to you all. Bye.
All right. Well, my accountability is, as I have been a complete and absolute slacker. You're laughing because I know it's true. So my kids had Christmas parties. First of all, I got sick this week, and last week Jamie was teasing me about my silky. How did you say it? My voice.
your honey voice, your honey warm honey voice. Yes, it just poured over us.
It's because I was
every morning.
Right. I was sick. And so the sickness is still not gone away. It's better. But it just hangs on. I think that's why everybody gets it, is because we have to continue to do life, right? Not just us moms, but just everybody in general. And so my kids are starting to get it now. So it's gonna be a great Christmas. But I got sick, and then I also have to like keep doing Christmas stuff and helping my dad and my mom. And so yeah, I made it to one office hour this week, and I was not productive. So I just finished telling the ladies that I know for at least next week I'm out. So we are, well, I'll let Tina tell us, but I'm probably going to have very low expectations until after the new year. I'm just being straight up honest. So.
Okay. Well, I'll go next, so I'm not talking and then talking. So, you know what
Right.
I mean. So I have finished the revision in it. Well, not completely the editing, because I want to put it through Pro Writing Aid one time before I send it out. But everything in my manuscript from Angelica's point of view is done.
Yay!
A couple of those days I was all alone in office hours, and I did it anyway because I just wanted to get this
That's
done.
a win. Yeah. Hooray.
So I have a handful of scenes from some other, like Petra and the priest's point of view, and they're like 1 or 2 pages each. So I am going to have that done before Christmas.
You're going to meet your goal. Yay.
I am.
Tina, that's so exciting.
I'm
so
determined.
happy for you.
So that's my goal for the next time, is I'm going to have that sent out for editing before you see me again.
Yay. That's really
awesome.
Amazing, Tina. That's good. That's a good goal. Now, I don't have anything as exciting to report. I know, okay, I'm not worried, but still, I have not been as diligent as I ought to be. I'm still making progress, however. So I'm happy and not happy with my progress, because I have not committed and showed up for the office hours the way that I should have. But then it was kind of like not really my fault sometimes. Like sometimes I had somewhere else to be. So anyway, I did get more done on my book. Like I have made progress. Unfortunately, it's really slow. So like, I'm going to do 5 chapters. Ha ha ha. You're lucky to do 5 paragraphs, because if you get into a part of your book that's really kind of a mess, it can kind of bog you down. So, I mean, I'm very happy with myself that I've done some work and made some progress, but I do have to admit, I have not been as diligent as I ought to be. I'm going to attempt to turn over a new leaf and be more committed to showing up for office hours, except guess what? I'm traveling now. Woohoo. So that's silly to say also. So the bottom line is, if you're trying to be specific and all of those other things, that creates a SMART goal. If I try to tell myself what is a SMART goal, goodness, I'm going to have to just commit to working at least an hour a day on my editing, even if it isn't during office hours. So for example, if I can't make it to the office hour time frame, I will still work an hour on my project on my own time, just like Tina did. And I will only give myself grace if I'm actively traveling and driving on the road. I will not expect myself to honor that.
You can't write while you're driving? I don't understand that.
I know, right? It was like, unfortunately, I was not in line when God handed out that blessing of ability. So that's where I am with it. So we'll report back, and hopefully in January, I'm moving on and going back to edit my Nano novel, because that's the agreement I made with myself, that December would be editing the Moxie book, and then January I would allow myself to start editing November, because that's where my heart is really. But that doesn't mean Moxie will go away. I'll just be doing double editing, which I know sounds really weird, but I believe that I can do it.
I think you
can do it.
Yeah, because they're so completely different. Switching gears is not a problem. None of that stuff. So whatever.
Awesome.
Okay, so that's me.
Great. So this is a good place to announce to everybody that we are taking a 2-week hiatus for the holidays, so that we can focus on our families and all that stuff that goes along with American Christmas. I mean, I don't know what it's like where you guys are, but there's just so much going on, the different parties and family. And so we're just going to take this 2 weeks, and we will be back the first Friday after the new year. So
The
No,
10th, I
sec-
think it
the
is.
10th, the second.
the second
The
Friday. after.
second Friday. Hmm.
Okay,
right.
the 10th.
Because mostly
January.
because of me, because I will have my college age son home and I'm going to have family in town. I just want to be able to be with them. So
Right.
Yeah, we've
Be
had
mad at
enough
me.
podcasts without you, Jen. We're not doing another podcast without you for the foreseeable future. If we can help it, if it's in our control,
aw,
We
you're
will
so
have
sweet.
you with us. Yeah.
I love
So-
being here. I do miss it, but my family is so important to me. So.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And you're important to us. And so we want you to do what you need to do. And all of the watchers or listeners or whatever are important to us as well.
Yes.
So we want you guys to have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Yeah. And if you just can't stand to be away from me for 2 weeks, friend me on Facebook, Tina Catane. We could chat. I'm just kidding. I mean, I will friend you on Facebook. I friend everybody. I have like 3,000 friends because I just accept everybody. Okay, so it concludes this episode of the Christian Indie Writers Podcast. And until next time, may your pen be prolific, may your deadlines be met, and may all of your words honor Christ. Bye. Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas.
Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.